Welcome, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. We're going live right now with special coverage on the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's been shot at an event in Utah, one of his student events that he does all over the country, and we are awaiting word on his condition. It happened earlier, and we got word. We did not want to come to air with the news until we knew whether it was true. We knew that a shooting had occurred. But now everyone from President Donald Trump on down has confirmed he's been shot. Charlie's been shot. He's been shot. It appeared in the neck. There is video of the event, of the shooting that took place from far away. We're going to show you that. Utah Valley University. This is graphic. It's not as graphic as some of the film that is being represented as out there right now and having been taken more close up. So we're going to look at just this one, which is from a distance. Here it is.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Oh my God. Go, run. Whoa.
We don't know his condition. We're trying to find out. We've contacted all of our friends with Charlie's organization, of course, Turning Point, which you know I do a lot with. We have a lot of friends over there. I've texted Charlie myself. I don't know how he is. I don't know if he's okay. I don't know what the state of his injuries are. But he has been shot, as confirmed by the President of the United States, the FBI also confirming. And as we await further updates on his condition, all we can do is pray. We can pray, God, that he survived this. Pray for his family, pray for his children, his two young children, and ask ourselves what our country is coming to. How does this happen? How does somebody whose only job is to comment on political matters wind up a target for an assassin? This is the United States of America. We have commentators. We have provocative commentators. This is what we've been doing since the dawn of time. We are told online, at least, that a man has been detained, that he's in custody. There's video of a man being taken into custody. He is older. I'd say he looks in his 70s to me. He's mostly bald with white hair around the rim of his head. He's on his knees in this video we're about to show you, getting arrested. Let's watch it. We don't know whether that man is in fact the shooter, but we do know, we are told, someone is in custody. Megan Basham, who was on this program earlier today, who works for the Daily Wire, and also has many friends at Turning Point, just tweeted out, sources tell me the situation is critical. Pray hard. There is video circulating online, which we are not going to show. And my only prayer is that it's fake. I pray to God it was fake, what I saw. And there is no way I am showing it on this channel or on this feed. If it is real, it will be a miracle if Charlie survived. I can barely get my arms around the enormity of this. Charlie is such a dear man, and he's such an important cultural figure. He is one of the bravest people I know. He's been so unfairly demonized by his detractors at every turn. He's been villainized by people who disagree with him politically. And that messaging can sink in. I'm not blaming anyone. I don't know exactly who did it, and I don't know the motivations are, but I know that a lot of hate has been stirred up for Charlie that is grossly disproportionate to the messaging he's bringing to this world. He does these events because he wants to reach out to young people, you know, the forgotten conservatives on college campuses who the right has basically ceded to the left, who up until Charlie were being totally ignored by most people. Steven Crowder would go on college campuses and do his prove me wrong thing. But most people just don't even go there because they don't believe there's a window for conservatism on college campuses. And Charlie just wouldn't accept that. Charlie, who started as Don Jr.'s bag boy in 2016, literally carrying Don Jr.'s bags, and rose to head up one of the most powerful, influential, and important political organizations in the country, all self-made, not a college graduate. His life was his college. His interactions with all of you, from campus to campus and show to show, that was a better education than any college could ever have provided him. And he's got deep, deep thoughts and deep, deep beliefs on many issues. And thank God he's a God-fearing man. He's deeply religious and a person of faith. And I pray. That's helping him now and helping his wife and his 2 babies. He has become so influential. You have to assume that's what this is about, that he was considered a threat. This is just pure speculation. I'm not putting it on any particular person. I'm just saying that he was is so influential that he would be considered a threat by some pockets out there. And whatever the outcome is here, this perpetrator must be held to account. There must be justice for what happened today. We cannot live in a society where, whether you're a pundit or a president, you cannot appear in public to say how you feel, to say how you think the government should be run. This is not some third world banana republic. This is the United States of America. What is this, 1968? Are we back there where it's an assassination or an assassination attempt every couple of months in the United States? Charlie and I are set to go on the road together in 2 weeks. We're going down to Virginia Tech together to do one of these events in about 14 days. And I'm looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to sitting side by side with him and having a window into what Charlie does, because it is brave. It is brave. It's different from what he does on the air and what I do on the air, behind the microphone, talking to a black camera. It's just a black screen when I'm looking in. I don't see, if I have a guest, I see the guest face. But other than that, I just see black space. When you can see the people out there and a lot of them can't stand you, it's very brave to go out there and do what he does. And he does it. He does it courageously, and he does it regularly. And he takes on people who disagree with him, and he does it respectfully. He actually is changing hearts and minds, which is what makes him a threat. I've got a bunch of people who are going to be joining us as we await word on his condition. And I want to kick it off with Rich Lowry of National Review. Mark Halperin of Next Up with Mark Halperin. And I know, Mark, you talked to Charlie, was it yesterday? Was it just yesterday?
Yeah, it was yesterday. Now, I've covered stories about people who've been shot or sick, and never in my career have I had trouble talking about it. But I'll have trouble with this one, at least for a little bit. I know him only professionally. He's not my friend, but I've been on his show many times, and he's such an incredible figure. He's an historic figure, even if you strongly disagree with him. What he accomplished in the last few years in particular, there's nobody like him. And I've talked to him about it over he's come on Next Up. There's nobody like him in either party, because he's a content creator. He's a strategist. He's a thinker. He's a doer. And he's on text chains with the vice president and the vice president and Don Jr. and others. He's so involved. He works around the clock. Great dad and cares a lot about his kids. And just come back from Asia, first trip to Asia. And we talked yesterday about how he was looking forward to this tour, because he draws such strength from being out on the road with the young people who he's inspired in an historic way. And he's so interested in what they have to say. And we talked about going to a Mondami rally together. I think I was more serious than Charlie was about it. But he wanted to go to a rally and see Mondami and see the people. He said, I don't want to troll the people there. And we talked about, again, part joke, part serious, going in disguise, because we didn't want to be a spectacle. We just wanted to go and see, what are these young people inspired by? And that, to me, is the essence of this guy. He's so interested in the world, making the world a better place and understanding particularly what his specialty has been, which is young people. And no one, and I think the president would agree with this, no one has done more to bring the hearts and minds of young people to be open to or enthusiastic about not just Donald Trump, not just MAGA, but the conservative movement in the last, I don't know how many years, and Charlie has done. It's an extraordinary organization he's built, and his capacity at a relatively young age to do so many different extraordinary things is testament to his hard work, his intelligence, and his curiosity.
Oh, you know, Rich, I was looking back on some texts between the two of us, me and Charlie, and looking back to after Trump won. And Charlie texted me, "Glory be to God." You know, he's very, very faithful guy. And I think he's been driven by that. Forgive me for the upset. I saw a video right before we came to air that I don't know whether it's real, but if it's real, it's really dark and it's really bad. He is a person of faith, and I have to hope that's helping his family, and in a perfect world, helping him right now.
Yeah, it's absolutely devastating. You guys know him better than I do, but I remember 8 or 10 years ago, he came to me, get a cup of coffee in New York City, looking for advice, and I very quickly realized he didn't need any of my advice. I mean, what he's been able to do in terms of his advocacy, in terms of his podcast, in terms of his organization building, in terms of his political organizational work is just massively consequential and speaks to his personal talent and personal drive. If anyone had said, 5 or 10 years ago, a kind of a hard-edged populist presidential candidate is going to make major inroads among young people, no. That's not going to be possible. But Charlie saw it. He saw the opening, not just saw it, embodied it in certain ways, and then gave it political effect. I can't tell you, I'm sure people told Mark the same thing. You'd have a lot of operatives or opinion makers saying, oh, Trump's turnout operation, I think it's going to be a debacle and he's going to lose because of it because he's outsourced it to Charlie Kirk. Now, that was an exaggeration. He didn't outsource the entirety of his crowd operation to Charlie Kirk. But I heard that over and over and over again. And lo and behold, he delivered. Charlie and these other guys delivered. They had a different theory of the case. So that's extraordinary. And just this event is so devastating, not just personally, Charlie and his family, people know him well, friends of his, and civically, right? To have someone who's going and doing it the right way. He doesn't have to go there. He doesn't have to sit there in a chair, take all questions. And look, it just shows how bravery and openness to debate draws people, a huge crowd at a university none of us had heard of before about 45 minutes ago. He's doing the right thing, right? We need more of that, right? That's good for our society. That's what the bedrock of our republic, that's what it's built on. Argument, persuasion, clash of ideas. And a rifle should have nothing to do with it. Obviously nothing to do with it. And you asked, is this 1968 again? This might be an event horizon where we've passed, we've gone from the poisonous rhetoric into acts against people who are just advocates, right? Who are just out there expressing their point of view. And that's a really, really disturbing thing to think about.
Mark Halperin, the amount of security that Ben Shapiro has to travel with now, that Matt Walsh has to travel with now, that I know Charlie has had to travel with. I travel with security too. This is not normal. This is not normal. We're all news personalities. That's what we do. We comment on the news. The level of threats that now public figures are having to put up with in order to just talk about the news is irregular. It's wrong. There's something deeply un-American about this. And I don't know if we can take the loss of Charlie Kirk. I don't know if we can take the loss of him. I really don't. I just think pray God it's not happening. Pray God he survives this. But this is an abject disaster. I mean, this is going to have a far-reaching, deeply resonating effect on the political right, even as we know it as of this moment, what's happened here?
Well, just to be honest, based on the text I'm getting, we need to be prepared for the worst here. This will deeply impact the president and the vice president. This will deeply impact so many public officials on the right, and you know, it's going to be personal for a lot of people, right? It's going to be a personal loss, but it's also going to be a gateway to a bigger conversation about how such a thing could happen. Not only the issue you raise of the safety of people who want to be on the town square, but the question of why such a kind person who said provocative things could be targeted in such a way. I am certain that this shooting will do some good. I'm certain of it because he was such a kind person. But I'm going to be vigilant myself in making as sure as I can that this brings the country together rather than divides us more. That is what Charlie was all about in a way that the left didn't understand. He was not a hater and he was not a divider in his work. And he has always been and will continue to be, I pray, someone who sees a united America through correcting some of the things that he's always felt were done wrong.
Mark, as I listen to you, I know I hear you. I totally hear you, but I'm so fucking angry right now. I'm so angry. And I agree with you. I'm getting similar messages that we need to prepare for the worst. The official word right now is that he was taken away by his security team after being shot, that a suspect is in custody per Utah Valley University, and that Charlie has been brought to the hospital with his condition unknown, though earlier a report was that that it's critical. It is critical. But I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I don't know what the man's motivation was. I don't know whether that's the guy, the bald guy saying, I have a right to remain silent. But I want someone to suffer. The right doesn't generally riot with burning buildings and gas cans in the street. You know, that's a leftist thing. That's an Antifa thing. That's like an AstroTurf thing that leftists get going when they don't get their way. But this is the kind of thing that makes me want to riot in the street. I'm not encouraging people to do that. I don't want people to do that. More people will die. More people will get hurt. But I know I speak for millions when I say I'm so angry right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of anger and upset that anyone he touched is going to feel, regardless of the motive, regardless of the biography of the person who did this. Regardless, there's going to be anger and upset, and believe me, as I said, I'm pretty upset about this, and I know 1,000 people who know Charlie better than I did, but I'm just saying that this must be. Whatever happens, a manifestation of the faith that animated Charlie's life. It's going to be an opportunity, no matter what his fate turns out to be. It's going to be an opportunity to make the country better, which comes from love and aggressive understanding, and not anger and hatred. And again.
I know everything you're saying is right. I'm just resisting
the president
it.
The president and the vice president will lead us because they'll have to, because they're so close to him.
Yes.
They're so close to him.
Former Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz was at the event. He watched as Charlie fell backward after being shot and says he hopes that, quote, somehow, some way he survived. Rich, forgive me. We're going to take a look at MSNBC. They're actually speculating that this is going to be, quote, used. I haven't seen the SOT yet. Let's watch it. SOT 5.
After one of the Doge employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what Donald Trump used as justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. The carjacking situation, he used that. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark, but you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
I must admit, I'm at a loss to guess as to what happens next.
I'm sorry, but Katie Tur is a sick person. She's a sick person, Rich Lowry.
Fuck that.
Fuck that is right, Mark Halperin.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, apparently it's just not enough to say, dear God, God help us. Pray for Charlie. This is God awful. Should never happen, right? And they can't bring themselves to do it. And this is why I hope Mark is right that this brings us together to some extent, or, lowers the temperature, as people say. But I'm skeptical because I can hear that that's shameful, but not unexpected. But I can also hear the yes, but commentary coming, right? This shouldn't have happened, but Charlie said or did X, Y, and Z. And I think we'll have that fairly rapidly, and it'll be emetic, and it'll be difficult to take and disgraceful. But if past is prologue, that we're going to hear a lot of that.
It's just, I don't understand how any of us are supposed to go on just functioning and living our lives and doing what we do for a living. What we do is exactly what Charlie does. We comment on the news, Mark. It's what we do. We comment on the news. Sometimes it's provocative. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's confrontational. The stakes before have never been your life. Your life. Charlie, everybody knows he's a man of faith. Everybody knows he's a husband. He's a father. Like, the event was outdoors, and I can't help thinking about the Trump event in Butler, Pennsylvania, which was outdoors and raises a greater risk. Charlie took that risk, but you're not thinking as a pundit that your life is on the line. There's a reason Charlie kept doing that after Butler. Mark, we all do these public events. I've been to countless Turning Point events with Charlie. You don't worry about getting shot. You worry about the great crowds who might make parking difficult. That's the biggest worry you normally have, and that's what's real. That's what's normal. But we're crossing right now into a new reality.
So, look, you have of late been something of a hybrid, not just a journalist, not just a commentator. You've appeared at some events, right? Charlie was much more of an activist than he was a commentator. So he was a different thing. But he was in service of his vision of making the country better. And he was already an historical figure. What troubles me is what you're saying, which is if the price to be paid for being on the National Town Square is you can be killed, that's chilling. But if he does not make it, and again, I'm just being honest with folks, my inbox, it's not good. If he doesn't make it, we've lost not just an incredibly special person and a dad and a husband, but we've lost someone who was determined to change America. So it's not just you pay a price as a person for being on the National Town Square and trying to change things. They've taken away, if this goes the way it may, someone has tried to take away, let's put it that way, someone has tried to take away someone who was really fighting every day to change America for his kids to have a better future as he saw America. That's chilling to me. That's chilling to me. I think the left will chronicle his more hyperbolic and inflammatory statements. And I think I think that is it comparable to if he does die, to the death of Martin Luther King, the assassination of Martin Luther King? I think there's parallels there, because
I think there are parallels too.
Charlie was a visionary for his vision of America, and screw people who said he was in it for money or in it for fame or in it to own the libs. He was in it because he believed passionately about how to change this country to make life better for his kids.
Have you guys seen the video I saw?
Yeah, I've seen it. I find it hard to believe it's fake, because I know the sick mind that would not only fake that, but fake it instantly. So, yeah.
If that video is real, there's no way he can survive this.
No. He's an extraordinary guy, but no.
The shooter shot him from 200 yards away. a spokesperson for Utah Valley University. This is tweeted out by Michael Levinson. Eleanor Traynor said that Charlie was struck by a suspect who had fired from the Lowry Center, a building about 200 yards away. The suspect had been taken into custody, was not a student. Again, we don't know if it was this man. Let's play the video one more time of the man who is in custody, asserting his rights to remain silent.
The right to remain silent.
The moment that Trump won, you know, we all had our experiences, like some of us were together, and it was extraordinary for everybody who wanted Trump to win, but it was really extraordinary for Charlie, who had left nothing on the field, Rich, in trying to get Trump over the line. And the youth vote did turn out for a Republican. It just, we'd never seen the margins when it comes to Republican presidential candidates like we saw in 2024 with Trump. And it was in large part thanks to Charlie Kirk. And he came on the show a couple days after, and we celebrated together, and we talked about that moment when, the networks call it, and it's real. And we played this soundbite of what happened on Charlie's show. Charlie, who had been all over the nation on every college campus, just fighting and fighting and fighting to get every last vote, handing out MAGA hats, and his reaction when Trump won. And here it is.
Let's go. There it is.
Everybody should remember this moment. Look, I'm gonna echo Charlie from earlier. Remember where you were when this happened. Remember where you were when you realized that the Uniparty and all of these, just the establishment, you said it's time to actually participate. And look what you guys have done.
And if anyone deserves to get tears in his eyes, it's Charlie. I think we all agree.
I think Erica was chopping some onions or something in the break room.
No one has worked harder than Charlie for this.
We gotta hear some words here from you, Charlie. You put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God. It's all good. It's all good.
It just says everything. That's Charlie Kirk in a nutshell. Thanking God, smiling, hands on his face, like the emotion, right? He is an emotional guy in a great way, in a way that shows his fire, his passion, and it's rare you see that kind of emotionality coupled with that level of just being able to articulate your views in the moment passionately and soundly and compellingly.
Yeah, again, if you had just seen this opening and had advocated for Trump trying to exploit it, that'd be pretty notable, right? That'd be a significant insight. But he didn't just see it. He helped open it up himself with his organization, with his appearances, and then helped Trump run through that opening. So it was a massive contribution. And again, perspective 10 years ago, Republican candidates made inroads among the youth vote. Oh, okay, Paul Ryan has kind of softened our socially conservative message and appealed to young people that way. No, this was totally the opposite of what conventional wisdom said for a very long time was the way to appeal to young people. So it's just a massive contribution. But I just fear again, Megyn, that the clips you watch of this horrific shooting, one moment we're in one world. He's sitting there. He's taking questions. He's answering them. There's a crowd. They might agree. They might disagree. They're there. It looked like a little incline, like a hillside. This is how democracy started in Athens. Literally, you sit on a hillside and you argue things out. That's the way it's supposed to work, right? This is a thread that runs through Western civilization for millennia. And then the next moment, a shot. He's slouched behind that chair, and people are running in fear. And I fear that we're now in the running in fear world. And if nothing else happens, if there are no repercussions from this, if there's no retaliation, if there's no copycat, it still means every commentator with some significant prominence has to do events with security like a principal, like a vice president or like a cabinet official, the mags and the security lines and the whole thing, because we talked about this with the Charlotte killing, because now there's that whisper of fear that in a free society, in a society true to our ideals, no one should have. It should never enter your mind that you can be out there openly, fiercely, making your case, and you have to worry about a hideous act of violence being perpetrated against you. But now everyone has to think about it.
Mark, I can't help but think as I see these videos online about the parallels between what just happened to Charlie and what happened in Charlotte. Like the video of that poor Ukrainian refugee after this random stranger stabs her in the neck and she's confused and she goes down, she crumbles down to the floor. And then you see just a ton of blood spill out on the subway floor in bright red, just copious amounts. Charlie got shot, it looked to me, in the same spot. It looked like it was on it was the left side of his neck. And the blood that poured out in that video, I will never forget as long as I live. And I hope I never have to see it again. And I don't recommend people look it up. And it's the same thing in a way, in that it's not exactly a random act of violence, but it's a senseless act of violence that takes someone so young and promising. In the case of Charlie Kirk, a truly important national figure, entirely of his own making, 31 years old, no formal education, no connections to anyone, nothing to give him a head start, just pure tenacity and willingness to work hard and a God-given ability to communicate and express himself in a way that literally drew the attention of millions. I mean, I'm worried about my kids. They love him. He's so important to young voters, yes, but young kids, high schoolers. My middle schooler knows who Charlie Kirk is and totally admires him. My kids were dying to go with me to a Turning Point event. They're a little young, but we were definitely going to do it. They looked up to him. He's a hero to so many genuinely young kids. I mean, teenagers. This is going to have such an effect on so many people from 80 years old to our 80-year-old president on down.
Yeah, you'll recall that Gavin Newsom said at the beginning of his interview with Charlie, Gavin Newsom said, "My son's all excited that I'm interviewing." He's an historical figure already for the reasons you said. But think about how many years he has left. Think all the opportunities he has to help continue to change the world. And I've joked with him before that he's just young enough now for teenagers to think he's cool. But what would like a 50-year-old Charlie Kirk be like? Would he continue to appeal to young kids the way he has? But no one's like him. There's no one like him in either party. And I did a long interview with him about that topic. And he's a modest guy, so he didn't really want to cooperate, but I dragged him into it. And we talked about how there's no one like him. There's no one like him, not just in the Democratic Party. There's no one else like him in the Republican Party in his capacity to be multidisciplinary, to do content, to travel, to write, to organize, and to work in coalition with the President of the United States. There's also the fact that although he was so mature, we all, he regularly called, an old person in a young person's body. In my interview with him yesterday, we talked about South Park, which has just done a send up of Charlie. And I wondered whether it'd be okay to play for him. I didn't want to piss him off if he didn't like it, but he wasn't that big a South Park fan, but he thought it was funny. He thought it was hilarious. He loved the recognition of it. And this is someone who understood politics and campaigns and the minutia of those things, but he understood the culture as well as anyone I know. He understood the culture of America, and he continues to be a leading figure. Regardless of age, he understands culture, and that's so powerful, and wise beyond his years in understanding American culture. He must live. I'll say this: he must live. He must live, because his loss would hit too many people too hard. I'll just say one more thing. You talked about the pictures from Charlotte. It's psychologists and others, philosophers have studied this for years. Is the impact of upsetting visual images on all of us. I've just been so taken in the last 48 hours by how people have reacted to that video from the light rail. These videos of Charlie, it's going to have a monumental impact on people. It's going to have a monumental impact, incalculable.
Kids are seeing it right now.
But they're going to be linked. Yeah, but they're going to be, those two images are going to be linked in history.
Yeah. I don't, in the early moments of a shooting like this, an event like this, information is constantly circulated that is bad, and we've all been burned by it. We don't have any official word on how Charlie is doing. I will say, for whatever it's worth, Glenn Beck just tweeted out that he's getting word Charlie's been stabilized and says he prays it's true. I do not know whether that is true. If it's true, it is a miracle. As Glenn writes in his tweet, if it's true, it's a second miracle. First Trump, and then, God willing, Charlie. I don't know.
May I say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, please. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry. I've twice now talked about him in the past tense, and I pray and look forward to the day when I can joke with him about that. I'm sorry I've done it.
Yeah. We're hoping you have that moment. I mean, he was brought to the emergency center or to the hospital. I don't know how close it was. Utah, they definitely have some level 1 trauma centers in Utah. I know this from having skied out in the area. So there's a chance, there's a chance with security right there and being on a university campus with potentially, ambulances not too far away or emergency kits not too far away. There's a chance. I don't know. We just don't have the answers. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're praying for him. That's what we can do right now, Rich. We can pray for him. There was an eyewitness to it. His name is Justin Hickens. He spoke with NBC News. He says he was 20 yards away. He also witnessed the arrest of the suspect. We're going to take a look at that testimonial here.
I was about 20 yards away on Charlie's left. I had gotten there probably just a few minutes before noon. There was thousands of people there. Unfortunately, there was no metal detectors. There was security by Charlie, but anybody could have shown up with whatever, unfortunately. And I happened to kind of maneuver my way down close on the side. And the first interaction probably took about 10 minutes. It was a religious-related exchange. And then there was someone who stepped up, ironically, coincidentally, who asked a question about mass shootings. And about 60 to 90 seconds in, we heard a big loud shot. I saw a bunch of blood come out of Charlie. I saw his body kind of kick back and go limp, and everybody dropped to the ground. And luckily, there were no other bullets sprayed into the crowd because nobody was really able to go anywhere. It was just like a big, open pavilion, amphitheater, outdoor venue. And, lots of screaming, lots of yelling, lots of bodies on top of each other. And after a couple minutes, people got up and started kind of running, getting out of there. There were some gates, some barriers that had been pushed aside and knocked over, and people were able to move. And I started to move quickly, and then kind of realized that I said, I think we're okay. And I kind of stopped walking away, and I kind of turned around, and all of a sudden I saw officers walking with this very elderly gentleman with white hair, and they had him arrested, had him on his knees. He was screaming about, his rights and all that stuff, and they cuffed him and put him away, and about 20, 30 other people just said, yeah, that's the guy. That was the shooter. And people had said that they had seen him there early. He got to the event really early, was kind of walking around, talking to a lot of people, just this elderly gentleman, but that's all I got.
There was a lot of information in there. I think he said that one of the things they discussed was a mass shooting at the top at the event. I do want to update that the Associated Press is reporting that Charlie's in critical condition at a hospital after being shot at Utah Valley University. Pray God that's true. Pray God he has not died and that he's in critical condition and comes out of critical condition. The thing is, Rich, one thing you can say about Charlie is he's tough. He's as tough as they come. He's young. He's healthy. He's on the road all the time. He if anybody has a chance, it's Charlie. He's strong. He's strong in character, in will, in his mental fortitude, and he's physically strong too. And so maybe there is a chance. Maybe maybe he does come out of this.
Yeah. Well, we'll hope and keep praying. I mean, prayer is the most powerful tool we have. I was just struck in that clip, Megyn. Again, thousands of people on a Wednesday afternoon at Utah Valley University. It's amazing, and everyone on either side should be glad it's happening, right? That's civic engagement, right? That's civic dialogue, whatever euphemistic kind of goo-goo phrase you want to use for it, but it's good, right? It's a profoundly good thing. And then also struck in the same vein, 10 minutes on the first question and answer. What is that, right? That's give and take. That's argument. That's persuasion. It's how it's supposed to happen. So it's just, again, there are almost no words. It's just devastating in every respect.
Rich, we're getting together too frequently to talk about people we care about in the public eye getting shot. This has got to stop.
And I think just, Mark was making comparison, the late 60s in today's terms. What would be more politically resonant assassination attempt? Trump, Vance, a couple top cabinet officials. I'm not sure there would be another one that would have the sort of political resonance this act does.
Yeah. I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Rich. Always appreciate you coming on. You're such a good friend of the show. Lots of love. We'll round back up when we have more news. We have Victor Davis Hanson coming on. We have Glenn Beck here too. Both friends of Charlie and friends of the show. And this is just, everyone's feeling what we're feeling. Just absolute devastation at this news as we know it. Charlie Kirk has been shot in the neck at an event on a university campus in Utah, taken away to a hospital. The AP is reporting he's listed in critical condition, which is something because we worried that he was dead on the spot. If you take a look at the videos, it certainly looks like that could have been an outcome, but it's better. It's better than that, at least. Glenn, start with you. Thank you for being here. I just read your tweet to the audience. Are you hearing that from people who are in a position to know that Charlie I am. That he's alive and that he's in critical?
I am. Spoke to somebody in a position who knows, who said he has a pulse. So that's good news. Good news. I have to tell you, Megyn, my daughter was at the tent. She's 19 years old.
Oh, God.
And she's on her way home now. But this is, I know you can relate to this. I have two friends now that have been that people have tried to assassinate. We don't live in those kinds of times. You have to go back to the 60s to live in those kinds of times. And quite honestly, I am, my first reaction to this, besides the profound sadness for Charlie and his family, is strangely forgiveness. And I don't want to. I am so angry. And, when I saw the guy who apparently did it, my first thought was, you effing hippies. You have been destroying this country for so many years, and you still are hanging on and trying to control everything. And I am so angry at those people, if that is the shooter indeed. But we have got to get serious about the significant enemies that are within our country. And
we need information about this man, and we need it immediately. And we'll get it with this FBI, Victor. Thank you too for being here. We'll get it with this FBI. Victor Davis Hanson.
Yes.
Your thoughts on this?
I don't want to be partisan, but when you look at the Scalise shootings and the two attempts on Donald Trump, and Luigi Mangione, you get the idea that the left feels that they're so morally superior and intellectually superior that almost any means necessary, and especially the reaction to these things. When Trump was almost killed, you looked at the social media, and when the Luigi Mangione was canonized after he killed a man who had worked his way up from the middle class to be a CEO. So I think it doesn't do any good to just to say this is violence and we've got to just stop the violence. This is coming from one particular side who's justified it because they think that Trump and his supporters represent an existential evil. And then if you keep telling everybody that Trump is a fascist and he is a Nazi, then they feel that they're going to be heroic. I think we saw that with a second assassination attempt on Trump. The other thing is, Megyn, very quickly, it marks we crossed the Rubicon because it was sort of known that journalists or people who were in opinion journalism on both sides were exempt. And we didn't, I know all of us, you probably more than I, but if you go to an airport, 1 out of 20 people wants to confront you. But there wasn't anybody really it's not common in the United States to go after journalists. That's what Charlie was. He wasn't just an activist, he was a journalist. And he wrote, and he was very good at it. But the idea that now you go after the people who deliver information, that's kind of a new thing that they have. And I just know in the last 3 months, I live out in kind of a rural area. I've been swatted where sheriffs that armed said there was an intruder. There wasn't. They came armed to my door. I've had $90,000 drained out of all my bank accounts by hackers. And I think we're reaching a level now with the vituperation. And that we saw that with the shooting on the rail, the killing of our young immigrant. Yes, and when you start to collate all the things that people have said, white, whether it's on The View or Joy Reid or all of those crazy people, that language of deprecation and vituperation, it filters down. And they're the ones that have always told us that words matter. It's everywhere. Believe it or not, I'm reviewing right now a book on classics, and the professor who's on the left has used the word whiteness and white in a book not concerned with race 258 times in a 148-page book, I count them, all about anger and hatred. And until we say to people, we don't really care what ethnic group or racial group or political group, but there is a zero tolerance for that type of unadulterated hatred. And I just remember after the campaign, after the election, Sonny Hostin got on The View, and the first thing she said is she blamed uneducated white women. I remember that. White women. Nobody should collectivize. So I think part of it is we're collectivizing people and we're putting them in this demonic category. On the right, we're saying these people are the equivalent of Hitler or the new republic with a picture of Trump with a Hitler mustache. And we've just lowered the bar so much, it's inevitable that people are going to come out of the woodwork and consider that the violence they use against people on the right, whether they're officials or now journalists apparently, is going not only to be exempt, but it's going to be canonized, and they're going to be heroic. And I think I don't want to make any macabre predictions, but I bet you, and I haven't looked at the news, there will be people immediately that will cheer this on social media.
Oh, there already has been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There already has been.
I know that, Victor, you got to run, but do you have time for me to just ask you before you go, what do you expect the reaction is going to be? I mean, what's going to happen next?
Well, I think when you ask that, it's going to become the two sources of reaction will be obviously from political officials and from the media. And the media knows that you don't want to have a counter reaction. So I would expect all of the officials, left and right, and all of the major journalists left and right will condemn this, if not for the right reason of morality, then for their own self-interest, because you don't want to get into a spiral. But I have been listening to stuff that's been said on podcasts, on major TV shows, that I cannot believe. It's just pure racial hatred, ethnic hatred. And the targets more than ever are the so-called bogeyman of the white male MAGA right-wing fascist. And that's got to stop. When you have that vocabulary of disparagement from Joe Biden, that they were garbage, that they were chumps, that were dregs, and from Hillary, deplorable or irredeemable, Klinger, it's just too much finally. And it's all been predicated on the idea, well, this is a privileged group and they have a special category. You can say whatever you want. Conservatives, that's over with. I mean, this is the first time in my memory that a major journalistic figure has been targeted for assassination that I can think of. And let's hope it doesn't start something. But this is really new. This happens in South America. It happens in Mexico. It even happens as we saw with Salman Rushdie in Europe. But it has not happened here yet. And I'm afraid that this is something the left, in their desperation, if this person turns out to be that way, has embarked on. It's time, I think, for everybody to cool it. Yeah, cool the left.
The latest from the New York Times, just in, is that the police have determined this person who was taken into custody after the shooting was not actually the shooter. According to Scott Trotter, a university spokesman, the university had earlier said a suspect was in custody, and videos online showed this older man being detained by police officers. And therefore, I don't know at this hour whether the person who shot Charlie Kirk is in custody or not. I don't know. What? Say again, Glenn?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just telling my wife because my children are there. They don't know they have a suspect in custody. So,
VDH, I know you got to run. Thank you for making the time for us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Megyn. Thank you, Glenn. Good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you. God bless.
We love you. Yeah. Glenn, so we don't know. This is ambiguous. That guy, that white guy with the balding head, is not the shooter, according to the New York Times, citing Scott Trotter, a university spokesman. But the university had earlier said a suspect was in custody, not just a person. So we don't know whether they were speaking of this man who they've now determined is not the shooter. So we have no fucking clue whether the shooter is in custody or not. And we have no idea how Charlie is. All we know is he's been shot and that it was a brutal shot to the neck that we saw too much of.
Megyn, when I was talking today about Charlotte, on the video, you can hear the killer say, I guess I killed that white woman or whatever it was, that white girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in Washington, D.C. Just a couple months ago, and my wife and I were walking down the street, and there was this big black guy on a bike, and he kept circling us, and he kept pointing right directly at me and looking me in the eyes and said, "Today's the day I'm going to kill me a white man. Oh, I'm going to kill me a white man today." And he finally he saw my security and then he went away. We are not addressing the key issues here, and the media is making everything worse. We really are in a place where we will not get our republic back if the administration doesn't act forcefully, but constitutionally, and if we lose our heads. I mean, people like you, Megyn, are so important because people are going to look to us on how we react to this, and I don't know how to react. There's no lesson on this one. I don't know how to react to this. My friends are being shot. My family is in danger. I mean, I don't know how to react to this other than, I know that God is a God of miracles. If Charlie is alive, that's a miracle. If you saw the video, there's no way he should be alive. There's no way he should be alive. And if he's alive, that is an absolute miracle. And we have to be worthy of those miracles because something evil is happening, but something glorious is also going to come out of this.
you can't help but look at it in our position and say, he does to a large extent what we do. You know, we're all largely in the same business. We comment on the news. We try to help people understand the news. And yes, now in at least my new iteration and the one you've been at for a long time too, we also try to shape opinion around the news, the issues that are important to us, and try to encourage people to maintain their sanity and react sanely to a news cycle that can drive you mad. You know, I've heard you do it many times. I've done it. Charlie, this week, what has Charlie been doing? Charlie has been speaking truth about what happened in Charlotte. He's been very frank, as he always is, even when the chips are down. He says the hard thing. And he called out the racial issue in the stabbing in Charlotte, North Carolina. And because he heard what we heard, which was the black assailant walked up and down the train afterward and appeared to say, someone said, and it's very clear to me, it was him. We haven't had the forensic evaluation from cops yet, said, I got that white girl. I got that white girl. And Charlie.
There is no penalty for this. There's no penalty for this. Look at when you impose penalties in Washington, D.C., look how fast crime goes away. There's no penalty for saying these things, encouraging these things, or doing these things. The press and the academia and the media has taken very sick and vulnerable people, the transgender community, and whipped them up into a frenzy where the Nazis are going to come and round you up. What do you expect people to do? What do you expect them to do? So now the shootings are happening. We've had 5 shootings. I wonder if it was a coincidence that the question that was being asked of Charlie was the LGBTQ, the trans shooters that have happened, bang. I'm wondering if that's a coincidence or not. I'm hoping that it is. But nobody will even talk about it. Nobody will talk about there is serious mental illness on our streets. And a lot of it is coming from the media and the politicians. They are pushing people who are mentally ill into very dangerous situations. And nobody says anything about it. I mean, I'm telling you, Donald Trump has his work cut out for him. JD Vance, pray for those.
Let me just finish about, so Charlie this week was making the point he was making about that stabbing. Totally valid point, totally fair point, and a brave point to make publicly, because of course, you know, you're going to get blowback. And what happened? Blowback happened. Van Jones went on CNN that night and attacked Charlie and suggested he was somehow racist for introducing that question into it. Meanwhile, the stabber, the accused murderer, is someone we can hear on tape. It's very clearly coming from that train, and he's the guy who's front and center. We've looked at it 25 times. And while you cannot see his mouth moving, his face is not on camera, it seems very clear it's him. At a minimum, there is a prima facie basis to say it appears to be him. That's a very comfortable place to be if it turns out not to be, fine. But Charlie was not ahead of his skis and suggesting there's reason to believe there's a racial motive here, or at least that race played a role. And this is what happened. This is how Van Jones responded on CNN.
We don't know why that man did what he did. And for Charlie Kirk to say, we know he did it because she's white, when there's no evidence of that, it's just pure race mongering, hate mongering. It's wrong. Then he says that if something like that had happened the other way, there would be sweeping changes imposed on society. Where is the George Floyd Policing Act? It didn't pass. You mentioned the thing about cashless bail. I think this is a big challenge that we have. Would you have felt better if there had been cash bail and the mom had come and put down $1,000 to let him out? It's not about cashless bail or no cashless bail. It's about the fact that we don't know how to deal with people who are hurting in the way this man was hurting. Hurt people hurt people.
Look, I'm not blaming this on Van Jones. I'm just trying to show what Charlie was up against in his very brave and very frank social commentary, Glenn.
And Van is right. You know, there's no love lost between me and Van Jones. But Van is right.
I know the history.
Hurt people hurt people. He's right on that. But there is a group of people that are preying on hurt people and encouraging them to do unspeakable things. And when they do, they encourage them by either their silence or lionizing these people. This is not going to stop until Americans on both sides stand up and say, enough, this is not acceptable in our society. It is not acceptable. But I know people I counted as reasonable people who actually celebrated when Trump was shot. And if they know who Charlie Kirk is, they'd be celebrating today. That's unacceptable. If this would have happened to the women on The View, I wouldn't be celebrating. I would be warning. I'd be warning. This is dangerous. What are we doing? Stop it.
Never. And not only that, but if I've been at these events with you, if you and I actually bumped into Whoopi or Joy at some event and we were introduced and we were drinking it, whatever, sitting there, we'd be kind and they'd probably be mildly kind back to us. Like there's an understanding, mildly. We wouldn't be, insincere, but we wouldn't walk in there like, I hate that person and I want bad things to happen to that person.
Absolutely. They feel they are entitled to say that.
Well, we would never do that. We would never. I think the right understands that you're a player on the field. And then when you remove yourself from the field, there's a level of civility that's required in order for our fucking society to function. And it's just, I want to update with this because this just came in. This is news from the university. We can confirm Mr. Kirk was shot. We do not know his condition. The suspect is not in custody. Police are still investigating. Campus is closed for the rest of the day, said the university spokesperson, Scott Trotter. Is your daughter out of there, Glenn? Oh. Is she safe? Yes, he's nodding his head. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's another level of worry. And obviously the extra level of worry is she's Glenn Beck's daughter, and you have to worry about that. I understand that acutely myself. It makes us targets and it makes our kids targets. And I really hope Charlie's wife and his 2 children have security on them right now because the level of threat is higher.
Yeah. So, that's
what a hero you are for coming on to talk about this. Well, you have your own worries about your own family, Glenn. It's so on brand for you. You're also so brave, and you've been under it yourself. I've seen when we were at Fox News, you came to see me one time. We had a chat, and you had 6 bodyguards around you. It was insane, the level of threat that you were under, again, just for talking about the news.
They're going to pick, if this isn't stopped, they're going to pick people off one by one. They did it to us first, Megyn, by picking us off, by trying to pick off our sponsors and trying to isolate us. And thank God for the internet. We could go to the internet and we could be heard. We didn't need their big network systems anymore. We chartered our own course. But they tried to destroy us that way first, financially. And then they smeared us and tried to end us by just saying horrible, awful things. And now that doesn't work, they're just going to pick people off one by one. We have to get serious about the Soroses of the world, the people who fund these radical groups. We have to get serious about our university campuses. They are hellholes. There is real evil that is happening. And people are turning a blind eye, and too many in Washington are just thinking this is business as usual. This is not business as usual. The republic is at stake. And I'm sorry, I do not want and I do not like extra constitutional powers. I do not want any of those. But every single tool at our disposal that is constitutional should be employed. And people who are breaking the law, people who are trying to overthrow, people who are trying to influence, to overthrow, or to get people to kill, they must pay a price by law, not from us, not through violence. They must be arrested and stopped. George Soros, at the very least, his NGO should be banned from doing business in the United States. He's banned in several countries. I don't know why everybody else knows that he's a threat. We know he's a threat, but we'll do nothing about his NGOs here. We'll just let them operate. We'll let all of these NGOs take all of this money and infect our DAs, our district attorneys, our attorney generals. We'll just let them go in and undercover at night. Just, did you see about the Ray? It's not the Ray. Oh, I had it in our show prep today. I talked about it. The first time I had ever heard of it. It's an old Soviet group that tried to do things during the Soviet era that is still around. And now they are in charge of 40 different prosecutors in our country.
Is that the Wren Group, W-R-E-N?
Yes, the Wren Group.
Yep.
I'd never even heard, you know me, I am on top of all of these. I had never even heard of that one. There are so many of them now.
It was in City Journal yesterday.
Right, and what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We need to have our FBI and our DOJ go follow the money and take the people down that are funding all of this stuff. Because this is not just crazy people on the streets. This is coordinated. This is planned. This is a color revolution.
I can't help but feel that, like, the left went crazy. They drove the country crazy on the trans thing and on the race thing, to name two. But those are two huge ones over the past 5-10 years. They took us to a truly deeply insane place. And it took the right half of the country to rise up over the course of years to say, no, this is immoral. It's evil what you're doing, dividing us by race and transing children, cutting off healthy body parts, sterilizing minors. This is fucking insane and evil. And Charlie's been a part of that counter messaging. And now Trump, who's the avatar of the whole counter message, Charlie, who's like a mini Trump. I mean, there's no daylight between them. Even when, people got mad at Trump over Epstein, Charlie had Trump's back. He's just like, there's no daylight between those two. He's a diehard fan, supporter, loyal to the core towards Trump.
But he's
as
also,
close
you
as you
were
can
right
get to Trump.
You were right when you said he's also the future. Charlie is.
Yes,
Charlie
more than, because, can I just say something? Yes, because I was thinking about this, and God bless the Trump children. I pray for them every night. We don't want anything to happen to them. But at least the Trump children have security. They have Secret Service. But and with all due respect to them and their important voice in the national conversation, they don't have the same role as Charlie. Charlie is more important politically. He's young and he's organized and he's powerful in his own right.
My security chief called me when this happened, and obviously our security, and I hope your security people have changed their position as of today. But he called me and I said, "Look at this video. Look at this is insane." And too many people in our position do not take security seriously. Finally, Ben Shapiro, I saw him. Finally, he's got serious security. But, I've seen Charlie engaged in things where I'm like, Charlie, where's your security? I've talked to him a million times. Where is your security, Charlie? You have to take these things seriously now. And I mean, I know I've called you at times, Megyn, when you would flared up and I'm like, got security, you need anything,
Yep.
Nobody takes it seriously. I hope our side begins to take this seriously because
Glenn, he had security, of course. He had security, but as a news person or a commentator, or in Charlie's case, also a political organizer, you don't travel with presidential level security. You don't have sharpshooters clearing the buildings.
No, but you don't set things up. We shouldn't talk about this on the air, but trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. There are things that you do have to do, and it didn't appear to have those things happening there with Charlie. And Charlie is in this world now. If you are making a difference, you are going to be a target. Period. And it could come from any side. And I pray for Charlie. I pray for the Republic. But I also pray for people like you, Megyn, and everybody else who is in this industry, that they please pray for protection and take the time to learn about protection and spend the money. Spend the money if you have to, but stay alive. You know, we've lost Dennis Prager, one of the greatest voices for God, I think, and to the youth with Prager University.
What do you mean we've lost Dennis? I mean, he had a terrible accident. Yeah. He was hurt, but the last report I heard was he was doing a little better.
I shouldn't have said. Dennis, I pray he comes back and he is able to do the things that he can. I know he can write books, but I don't know if.
You mean we lost him in the way we used to have him?
Thank you. We've lost him the way we've had him. And he is an important voice. If, God forbid, we lose Charlie, we can't afford to lose voices. And these people are serious about stopping voices. They're serious about it. If they have control of the government, they ban all of us. If they don't have control of the government, it's clear they just kill all of us. This is a very dangerous death cult we're dealing with. We have to start taking it seriously.
I am not ready to go to air with what I'm reading, Glenn, but I don't feel hopeful. Okay, I'll just say that. I do not feel hopeful. And I haven't felt hopeful since I saw the video before I came on the show. If that was real, there's just no way one can survive it.
That video was real. I heard from an eyewitness said it was like a water fountain coming of his neck. So that video is real, and I don't know how he survived. I don't know how he survived that.
I pray so hard for his family and for everybody at Turning Point too. I mean, he's their leader. You know, this young, upstart, strong, fun, funny, spicy guy who would go anywhere, would talk to anyone. You know, I said earlier, he and I have an event together in 2 weeks in Virginia. I was going to one of those campuses with him.
Me too.
I don't know. I feel like everyone over there must be so traumatized. And I worry for our children. You know, my kids love him. I know that they're praying that right now too. My husband, we have a family text chain. My husband texted saying, there's some upsetting news. Please come right home and do not look at the internet. And unfortunately, they're kids, they're teenagers, and they'd already seen it. It's these videos. It happened in a public place. There were millions of cameras. Everybody had their iPhone. It's what you do at a Charlie Kirk event. It's what Charlie wants you to do. He loves it when the clips go viral and his messages and his exchanges with people get as great a circulation as possible. And if this is the ultimate exchange that he had, I
found out from my daughter on the phone, and she's not the same. She'll never be the same.
Right. Right. This is a level of trauma for everyone involved, every eyewitness, everyone who loves Charlie. You're exactly right. It's like he's a friend. Like for me, Glenn, I remember, you know, there was this weird period, and you can relate to this too, because I was on the outs with Trump, you know, or so people thought. You know, he and I had made up, but I definitely wasn't his favorite. And when I launched this show, it was that way. And for the first year or so, you know, MAGA definitely had some questions like, I don't know, I'm not sure, you know. And even I at that time didn't know. I knew I voted for Trump and I was like supporting him, but I still had questions, you know, I was still kind of licking my wounds. And Charlie reached out and asked if I would go on his show. And I remember thinking, that's that's a big risk for him because he doesn't know whether his audience is going to like me. You know, like he's actually taking a risk here. And I appreciated it because like Charlie doing that was in a way like a kindness to me.
Can I tell you something, Megyn?
Yeah.
It's more of a kindness because I think you know, he did know you would not be good for the audience.
Yeah.
He knows his audience. He knew it was going to cost him a price to put you on at that time. But he did it anyway because he believed in you and he believed in different voices and bringing people together. I mean, I think it's very gracious the way you're saying it, but I think it's even more than that. It's even more than that.
Well, I mean, at that moment, you know, a unexpected, beautiful friendship was formed because I didn't know anything about Charlie. Can I tell you something, Glenn? You know what I knew about Charlie? I knew what the right wing says about Charlie, these more established right wing, which is they didn't like him. They did not like him in the same way they did not like MAGA. You know, they just thought he was terrible. So many more establishment Republicans were like, oh, Charlie. And I'd begun listening to him. And in the same way, it's not dissimilar from Mike Davis, who was also like crapped on by so many more establishment types in the GOP. And I was like, no, this guy's brilliant. I'm telling you, like, as a lawyer, I can tell you this guy's actually really smart. By the way, he's been right about literally everything. And I started listening to Charlie. I'm like, he's actually quite special. This guy's combination of talents is very rare. And you could see, I've said it to him, you're going to be president someday. You're definitely going to be president. He's only 31 years old. What can he possibly do for us? The list is so long. Endless promise, endless fulfillment, endless influence. And it's been thrilling to watch his rise over the past couple of years. And I've been honored to be any small part of his show. He's become a part of mine too. It's been symbiotic and it's been wonderful. He was coming on my tour with me. I was going to the campuses with him. Because it worked. We had a mutual have respect for one another. There's a love. There's kind of a love and a respect. And behind the scenes at these turning point events, we'd laugh and we'd make fun of each other and everybody and all the untouchable figures in a way you can when you're family. You know, in a way you can when you're family. You can say anything about anything. And you do anything for the person, as he would for me and I would for him and I would for you and you would for me and him too. And I know that. So it's just so bizarre. It is right. You're right. 2 of my friends have been shot. Look at him here on stage with his wife and his 2 beautiful children. He just had, that's Erica. He just had a son. His daughter is now about 2. This just came in from the New York Post. The reporter reports, I asked Trump how Charlie Kirk is doing. Not well. He's not doing well. Quote, it looks very bad. How Trump is feeling, not good. Using the past tense, he was a very, very good friend of mine, and he was a tremendous person. I will say Gavin Newsom tweeted this out. The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. In the United States of America, we must reject political violence in every form. That's right. There are news outlets reporting the worst right now, Glenn. I don't know what I'm waiting for before I report it. You know, I trust Just the News. I trust Deseret. What are we waiting for, like the AP to say it? We don't trust them more than we trust these. They're reporting that Charlie has died. That he's dead. At the age of 31. Which he would have to be if that video was real.
There's no way he survived that. The only good thing is, it had to have happened quickly.
Right. Right. If you see the video, you do not see any suffering.
No.
He appears to have been spared the horrific moments after that the girl on the Charlotte train wasn't, when she knew she was dying or she knew something terrible had happened.
I don't think
In the
Charlie
videos,
did.
it's clear Charlie went down. He went down quickly.
I talked to a surgeon friend of mine, and I sent him that video, and I said, you know, what can be done? And he said, that looks like the artery was completely decimated, and it would have been over.
It looks like JFK. That's what it looked like to me. It looked like when JFK was assassinated, the violence with which he keeled back was the thrust of it. It was very clearly a direct hit. It was obviously, I don't know, some sort of a rifle or shotgun. It had severe velocity, 200 yards away. Obviously, this person had been practicing. This fucker had been out there practicing to take his life. And if these reports are correct, his children have lost their father. Erica's lost her love. And we have lost one of the most important voices that we've had in my lifetime on the right. One of the most important messengers, someone sent by God to change minds and hearts on the most important, divisive, difficult issues of our time.
May I just say something positive?
Yeah.
I've made a pact with myself to start my day every day with before I get out of bed, before I do anything else, just say three things that I know are true about God. I know he lives. I know he's not neutral, and I know he protects us. If you know that God lives and he is not neutral and that he loves all of us, he is our dad, something good is going to come of this. It always does. It always does. I don't know how, but something good and glorious is going to come from this. Because God is not neutral in the affairs of man, but neither is Satan. Neither is the darkness. That is real. And we are battling that. And the sooner people understand that you are not fighting flesh and bone, you are fighting evil, the sooner we'll be able to dismiss evil and go back to God.
If they don't find this person, then you're right. It's going to feel like open season. Then there is not a person on the right who is going to walk comfortably anywhere in public. This shooter must be captured and must be brought to justice.
And more than that, Megyn, the left must speak out against this. They must.
All of them. All of them. The media must make this into a big deal. If they bury this in 2 days, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep happening. Our FBI, our DOJ must do an investigation and must open investigations on all of those revolutionary groups that are pumping this poison into our system. We must get legally serious and have legal consequences for these revolutionaries who are just planting this poison all throughout our society. God protect people that are in our police departments in Salt Lake. God protect those who are in our DOJ and FBI. God, thank God
help
they're there.
them.
Thank God it's Trump. Thank God it's Cash and Dan. Thank God for Pam Bondi. Thank God we have this team in there.
Do you know what our country would be like if he hadn't have won? I don't know if we would still have a country.
And you know, one of the reasons why we got Trump is Charlie Kirk.
I know.
We all play our part in some small way, but there is no denying the effect Charlie Kirk had on this election.
Big reason. That's why he was a target.
Can I tell you, he came on the show. I mentioned this earlier, and we played the soundbite from his show the night Trump won. When he came on my show just days after Trump won, I loved the clip so much, I played it for him. And we had an exchange about it. I want to play it now.
I was humbled and blown away because throughout this entire thing, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. And I'm sure you agree, Megyn. I said, there's no way they're gonna let us do this. That something's going to happen, right? And again, call it paranoia, call it just trying to be ahead of the curve. And I'm sitting in the seat right here where I saw Trump got shot. And like they tried to kill him and indict him. And it's like at every turn, I'm like, here we go. The regime is striking back, right? And it's just, you don't think you're actually going to get there because we've been programmed to just say that like powerful people get what they want, right? And he was 1 millimeter from this whole country just going into bedlam. And what if one of these trials would have went differently, right? What if Jack Smith would have rushed his cases and like a million different things, right? And there you go, and you hear the words that Donald Trump is president-elect. I just, again, glory be to God is all I can say, because I believe there's a divine element. I asked the question, is God done with this land? I don't think he is. I think that the evil that what we would see that you've covered of this butchery of children is going to come to an end. This evil of allowing men and female sports is going to come to an end. And we were blessed to play a small role.
Well done, good and faithful servant.
Is God done with his world? I don't think he is. I don't think so. Says Charlie, having no idea about the true sacrifice that he was making in order to make this happen, that the true sacrifice, becoming a public figure, putting himself out there, taking these risks, would require of him. How could he possibly know? These are not the stakes for which we are typically playing. I don't know. He was a faithful man. That brings me a lot of comfort, Glenn. I feel like he's home with his maker.
He is home, and there is a celebration on the other side, bringing him home. He has done his work, and he did it well. I know him as a man of faith. He was a good, decent, honorable man of faith who is growing in his faith. He has been welcomed home with open arms. Megyn, I have to go. But I thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you so much, Glenn. All the love in the world to you. So much respect.
Likewise. Stay safe.
Talk soon. For the audience just joining us, Charlie Kirk was shot today on campus at Utah Valley University. The reports coming out of Deseret News and Just the News, that's John Solomon's organization, former AP reporter, very solid on his government sources in particular, are reporting that he has died. It is not being widely reported yet, though the shooting is confirmed and understood. The university has said we can confirm that he was shot. We don't know his condition. The suspect is not in custody. That was an amendment to what was earlier reported, where they did have an older gentleman in custody saying, I have my right to remain silent, and was being handcuffed. They now say it wasn't him. His wife, Erica, and their 2 children must be in some agonizing pain right now. I can only imagine. This is from oh, good God. Yeah. He's dead. It's official. It's from the COO of Turning Point, who just tweeted out, Dear Turning Point USA family, it's with a heavy heart that we, the Turning Point USA leadership team, write to notify you that earlier this afternoon, Charlie went to his eternal reward with Jesus Christ in heaven. We're still gathering more information and we'll come to you soon with updates. However, in the meantime, Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action will be closed for business until Monday the 15th, likely longer. If you're in the field or traveling, please cancel everything and return home immediately. All internal, external meetings, etc. are canceled. Please pray. Sincerely, Justin. And then they offer grieving services, counseling services for their team. I am so sorry to be bringing you this news. I am so sorry. I'm sorry for what it means for our country, for Charlie, poor dear Charlie and his family. Sorry for what it's going to mean for the debates that we have yet to have, that he would have won. He would have put everyone to shame on, as he had been. And I'm angry, really fucking angry about how this happened, why this happened, and why we don't have a person in custody. Okay. Donald Trump just weighing in. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. Emily Jashinsky's with me. It's really too painful to really comprehend right now, Emily. You know, it's like, it's too big and it's too severe a loss. It's too profound a commentary on who we are as a country. It's overwhelming.
Megyn, I've been watching your whole broadcast, and I don't know how you've done it. We can find comfort in Romans 8:28. All things happen for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. All things happen for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. And that's not always immediately obvious to us, but we can take comfort in it now. You know, I didn't know Charlie as well as you did, but we did come up together. Charlie was 31, I was 32, or I am 32. I can't believe I'm using past tense to talk about Charlie Kirk right now. You know, Glenn Beck just said something right before he left that I thought was really important. He said Charlie had been on his faith journey. He had grown in his faith journey. And I think that's something that's really abundantly obvious as people have watched his career. Not only did he evolve with the culture, and I think start to really dial in to the deep and evil roots of some of the cultural sicknesses that we experience, in fact, that we're experiencing right now. But I think also he nudged our culture along with him, and he did it. He's been a part of this revolution technologically that we've seen. And I think you've mentioned this a couple of times over the course of the broadcast, all of the people who have seen Charlie on their little screens, on their iPhones, almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day, just as they're scrolling through TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Twitter. And those people, Gen Z, I mean, he's almost as close to monoculture as Gen Z gets. Everybody felt like they knew Charlie Kirk. Even if they didn't like Charlie Kirk, they felt like they knew Charlie Kirk. They felt like they knew Charlie Kirk, and they saw him grow up. And so I think you've mentioned this a couple of times. We are, if anything, underestimating as a society right now how profoundly this will reverberate on the culture.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know if the left fully comprehends how important he was to us. I really don't. I'm not sure they appreciate. They tried to marginalize him and make him into this fringy character who was just some sort of nutcase who would go on campuses and stir up shit. And that is such a misrepresentation of this noble person. And I don't, my team's sending me the nasty fucking things that people are posting on Blue Sky and the idiocy happening on MSNBC. I can't tolerate it right now. I can't handle it right now. All I can handle is figuring out who did it, who fucking did this, and bringing them to justice and making sure they don't hurt anybody else, and then doing everything we can to do two things: supporting his family, including his work family, and making damn sure that every message he brought is screamed from the mountaintop in greater volume on more college campuses. In fact, I'm prepared to go. I'll go anywhere that the Turning Point team wants me to go. I will say exactly what Charlie would have said anywhere they asked me to. And all of my conservative friends need to do the same and say it the way Charlie would have said it, boldly and unafraid. That's the only possible way through this, to live up to his legacy, continue his messaging, and support the enormous family that loved him. He wouldn't have it any other way. He would be so angry at us if he thought that even one of us cowered now. If even one of us cowered or stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. He, you know, this is over the course of his career, his faith grew. And we were just talking about this, but it was really something that you could see happening in real time. And I think he really came to understand that this is not just about red team or blue team, but this is about a deeper crisis of meaning and a deeper crisis of purpose. And Charlie and I disagreed on things over the years, as recently as a couple of weeks ago. Never publicly that I can think of, but he developed such I think a rich appreciation for his faith and for the importance of seeing politics and faith as being intertwined, but also as a bravery. And that gets missed. I mean, I feel like we've gotten so used to the America that you grew up in, Megyn, that I grew up in, after it felt like the dust had settled from the 1960s. And we've been so blessed to live in this sliver of human history that's relatively peaceful. The sliver of human history that's relatively peaceful. And I think that has, I sadly think we're looking at that in the rearview mirror every single day, more and more. And I think, to your point about conservatives going out and being brave now, I think we're going to have to get used to legitimately being brave, not being brave, for posting something controversial on X, but really, we're talking about historical bravery probably.
Absolutely right. The recent, like the last month or two, I don't know, Charlie'd been dabbling with going on Fox here and there, which, was kind of breakthrough because they wouldn't have Charlie Kirk for most of the time. I give them no credit for this. They finally caught on to the fact that Charlie was a genius, an exceptional talent, and decided to, give him a chance on Fox. I'm sorry, I'm just feeling bitter right now. It's no offense to Fox. They gave him a platform and he took it, and that's a good thing. He went on Fox and Friends. He subbed as a host on Fox and Friends. And it was just last month, and his daughter came on the set. He allowed it, and he was fine with it airing, so we're going to air it here. Here it is. Emily, that poor girl, that poor family, so he's never going to walk her down the aisle. He's never going to see them grow up. He's never going to have another child with this beautiful Erica. Like, he would bring them on the road, whenever I'd go to these events, they'd be there. His family was everything to him. And that fucker shot him down in the prime of his life without a thought for those children. And right now he's at large. We have no idea who it was, what the motivation was. We played a soundbite earlier of an eyewitness whose name is Justin Hickens, speaking at NBC. I'll just summarize it if people weren't with us. But he said he was 20 yards away. He got there a few minutes before noon. This is in Utah time. There were thousands of people. Unfortunately, there was no metal detector. There were none. There was security by Charlie, but anybody could have shown up with whatever. He said, I maneuvered my way down close on the side, and the first interaction probably took 10 minutes. It was a religious-related exchange. And then there was someone who stepped up, he says, ironically, coincidentally, who asked a question about mass shootings. And about 60 to 90 seconds in, we heard a big, loud shot. And he describes the pandemonium that followed next. The former Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz, he's now a Fox Newser. He was on Fox, and he said he was there. And he added that the question that they were actually discussing when Charlie was shot was about trans shootings, about trans shootings in particular. Hold on. I have a long text thread with my team. I'm trying to find. Oh, you have the side? Is it Chaffetz? Yeah. Okay. Here he is. Let's play it.
Yeah, that happened like 35 minutes ago. I was there. I was up kind of on the second level because I wanted to be in the shade, but our daughter was there, our son-in-law was there, my wife was there, friends. This is our community. And, there's 2,000 or so people. The Utah Valley University is our largest university, 40,000 students, and people came out to hear the dialogue, the back and forth. Ask them anything. That's what Turning Point and Charlie Kirk's all about. Ask them anything. First question was about religion. He went on for about 15, 20 minutes. Second question, interestingly, was about transgender shooters, mass shooters. And in the midst of that, the shot rang out. Now, I happen to be watching Charlie. I can't say I saw blood. I can't say I saw him get shot, but as soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck. A lot of people started screaming, and then everybody started running, as you might expect.
All right, now we have a transcript of the question, what was happening. Question from someone in the audience. So do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie, too many. To cheers. Question, it's 5, okay? Now 5 is a lot, right? Now I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence, asked Charlie. And that's when he was shot. We have the shot. We're going to play it. We are not going to show the execution that happened, but here's the Q&A.
So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
It's 5. Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence.
And that's when the shot was fired. No idea whether this is related to the trans issue, but it's one of the many that Charlie's been leading on and very outspoken on. And it's something that was near and dear to his heart. And we have seen it too much, as he put it, too many trans activists turn violent.
The reality of the shooting happening exactly after that exchange is beyond chilling. And again, just absorbing this in real time, this is what people, it's easy for us to get numb to this because it was always there for us. But imagine, it was always there. We grew with the technology. Like, the technology has been around and it's grown. We've seen it grow. But if you're Gen Z, if you're Gen Alpha, and you've been scrolling your phone, seeing this guy, larger than life figure, like Charlie Kirk, larger than life figure, arguing, mixing it up. He was supposed to be speaking with Hassan Piker at an event in several weeks on the left. And you've been seeing this on your phone for years. And then you see a video of him being sniped on a college campus after an exchange, the likes of which you have seen just about every single day on your TikTok and on your Twitter. This injects a new tone of violence, and it's just this raw violence. that, again, I just don't think anybody is prepared for what this is doing to the young minds who are absorbing this today.
Mm-hmm.
This is
very young.
Very young. And I mean, this is one of those moments where how often is it that, there's Butler, of course, but a single shot, I don't even want to talk in the sort of callous detail, but a single shot from 200 yards back, that feels like a 1960s style execution. And it's one that we all just witnessed. If you were lucky enough to not have clicked on that video yet, I imagine you might be in the minority of people who were absorbing this news in real time online. The whole country just saw this.
I was holding it together okay until I saw that. And then it was very clear to me he was dead. There was no way. There, you see this video, there's just no way any human could survive it. But, I was encouraged by the reports that he was at least in critical. He had apparently made it to the hospital, or at least, he must have, for them to be saying he was in critical. I don't know. We're just getting this in now here. Here's more. New York Times, search activity is continuing at Utah Valley University, where several groups of armed and outfitted agents can be seen making sweeps through Central Campus on foot and on trucks. Utah Valley University officials confirmed no one has been arrested, once again saying there is no suspect in custody. It is an active investigation, citing the university spokesperson. The university said 4 agencies are investigating: Orem Police, Utah Valley University Police, the FBI, and the Utah Department of Public Safety. This person's they're not in custody, but they will be. I feel confident they will be, Emily. There's just, on a university campus in today's day and age, the cameras are everywhere. He must have been on a building. It seems likely, he was on a building. Even like the one shooting, we did show one time, we showed the video of Charlie being shot from afar, just at the top of the show to explain to people what we were dealing with. And the person who's doing the filming, he doesn't sound far away from the shot. I'm just a layperson, but to me, it sounds like he's nearby. He's not too far from the shooter. In any event, of course, and even the university is saying it happened from 200 yards away. So this is somebody who obviously trained for this mission. And I say this only because if he was on top of a college campus building, whether it was a dorm or a mess hall, a dining hall, a campus university building, like with classrooms in it, you'd have to go through layers to get in, especially given the number of campus shootings that we've seen lately. There have been multiple campus shootings, and there's been multiple false alarms on campus shootings where the report came out, oh, there's a shooting here, there's a shooting there, and there weren't. That was a weird spate that we went through about 10 days ago. So I'm just saying the alert level at any campus would have been higher. And then when Charlie's coming, who's a controversial figure, it would be even higher. And then when thousands of your students are going to be on the quad, even higher. There's just no way that there's not going to be an eyewitness or a camera that caught this person.
I completely agree with that. And, when I said earlier, Charlie and I came up together, one of the reasons for that is my first job out of college was organizing campus events. And so a lot of the events that my colleagues and I were organizing at the time were Ben Shapiro events. This back in 2015, a lot of people remember the Mizzou eruption of protests back then. And it kept going in bigger and bigger venues. And, we had students at one point basically be trapped in the venue by leftist protesters on campus, and just the volume of threats. I'm talking 10 years ago. I think before this had got quite as hot as it is now. The situation, the culture had got quite as hot as it is now. The amount of, I think, legitimate threats just for hosting these events would shock average people who haven't been behind the scenes organizing them. And so to what we were talking about earlier, it is absolutely brave that Charlie would stand out there in broad daylight in a tent, under a tent with thousands of people in front of him. And there are a lot of questions the school is now going to have to answer. There are a lot of questions everybody is now going to have to answer, because the eyewitness report about metal detectors, we're looking right now at a 180 to potentially 200 yard sniper shot. Essentially, it sounded like it was from a high powered rifle, looked like it from the shot, without getting too graphic into that. And what that would mean, that could mean, security was tight around Charlie, as the eyewitness who talked to NBC said. But if there was if there really were no metal detectors, that's a huge, huge, huge red flag. If we come to find that out, to your point, Megyn, there were thousands of people all with their smartphones, out. Presumably when you see something like that happen, you don't even think to unclick record. You just start running. And what you capture, I mean, I'm sure there's CCTV all over that damn campus. And so I pray. We have seen very odd situations in our history where people get away, or, you know, it feels like we never get close to the truth of different tragedies. And I pray to God that is not what happens in this case, because we need that clarity as a country as we digest the execution in broad daylight of one of the most popular young conservatives, really ever. I really mean it, in the history of the country, ever.
Look at him, Emily. Look at him.
Know.
Great looking, super strong, moral, ethical core, incredibly gifted orator, fearless in his commentary and his positioning, very effective advocate for probably the most consequential president we'll ever have in our lifetimes. Not an exaggeration to say directly responsible in some significant measure for getting Donald Trump elected. Father, loving husband, dead at 31 by an assassin's bullet. And for what? For what? You know, I mean, truly, you think about it, it's like that person's not going to stop the messaging. The right will not be silenced. They're not going to shut up. I mean, honestly, it doesn't. Glenn says he's worried they're going to start picking us off one by one. You know what? It won't shut them up. It'll only create more of us.
Yeah, they might.
It's like anybody who's thinking about getting into the public arena, yes, they will be scared for a couple of days, and then they will put their boots back on and go back out there. That's what they will do. That's how we are as Americans. That it's not going to shut anybody up. It's going to ruin the life of his wife and his children, who now will never know him. That the little girl is too young to even really remember him. That's what was taken from us today.
But you know, Megyn, that little girl has hundreds and hundreds of video to reflect on as she grows up of her father. And, you know, whoever did this, whatever their goal was, it's only going to magnify. I mean, Charlie Kirk is now a martyr for his cause. It's only going to magnify his work for years and years to come. And frankly, Megyn, I think this is what the left maybe misses about people on the right, which is you can, I mean, like the violence is to be expected if you are a Christian. We talked earlier, there's this like the sliver of human history where there's an unusual peace and comfort in the West, but this is not unusual in the history of Christianity. This is something that Christians are deeply familiar with. And if this had anything to do with his Christian beliefs, which we don't know for sure, I think it's a non-insane assumption because his Christian beliefs were...
they infiltrated everything he said, so in one way, shape, or form,
exactly.
They did.
Yeah, exactly. It's an inextricably tied, and increasingly so as he grew up and everybody watched it with his politics. And so Christians cannot be deterred or silenced by these types of senseless acts of violence. People can try, but our hope is not in this world. Our hope is not of this world. And so you can do what you want to do to us on earth. And Charlie, that's obviously what drives and animates the sort of Christian in the public arena. And I don't think the left fully realizes that. And I hope people on the right realize that too. As so many young people come back to faith and to deep, deep faith. I hope we realize that. I hope we do. And Megyn, one final thought on that point too is the medium that Charlie was a pioneer in, and that's social media, because he was doing these back and forth videos he learned, I think, quickly, good content. They made for like a really compelling way for people to digest politics. As institutional trust cratered, people want to see more left versus right so they can make up their own minds. And he recognized that. And for him to be gone, to be taken in that format, and for that to be broadcast around the world and on social media, on the medium that he pioneered, is poetic in a sense, and obviously in a very tragic sense.
Oh, Emily, I mean, you're young. You know, it's like you're basically the same age as Charlie. there haven't been that many figures who have resonated with the youth the way he did. I mean, I can't think of somebody on the left who has similar power with young liberals. I really can't. Like, it's the issues that animate the young left, you know, abortion, whatever, take your pick. But there hasn't been like a figure that I can think of. Maybe I'm just blanking right now. There hasn't been like a figure on the left that's resonated the way Charlie was able to resonate on the right. And the thing about him, too, is that he would speak to the leftists. The leftists were not forgotten when he went on those campuses. They were a critical part of the equation, and they would show up. And, you know, the segment's called Change My Mind. He would change their minds. You would watch it live on camera. He went on Surrounded, you know, that show, like taking in all the questions. He would go into any arena. He did not care if you didn't like him. You know, he trusted you, even if you didn't like him. I don't think he thought he was putting his life on the line. I mean, clearly we all have to factor that in on some level when you're a public figure and you do a public event. But I don't even know who the heir apparent is. You know, God forbid that Trump had been shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. You know, the obvious choice would have been J.D. Vance. Well, maybe not even, because he hadn't named J.D. yet. But there were stars and are stars in the MAGA movement. And God forbid anything happened to Trump now. I think J.D. and Marco would be the two obvious most, you know, next likely. But with Charlie, it's like, I don't know, Emily. I'm not sure who could even pick up that mantle for him and have that same kind of influence.
You know, it's an interesting point. And I wonder actually if he created his own kind of heirs in the hundreds by what he did, by giving people the confidence to engage in debate. And, you know, I'm seeing right here, Megyn, from the New York Times, he was scheduled to debate Hassan Piker, who people sort of will say is like the left-wing Ben Shapiro or Charlie Kirk at Dartmouth on September 25th. Charlie was actually going to debate him. Hassan Piker on his Twitch live stream, quote, reacted to the news with horror, urging some of his followers to stop making jokes about the shooting. And he expressed fear that he could be similarly targeted. This is a terrifying incident, Piker said. The reverberation of people seeking out vengeance in the aftermath of this violent, abhorrent incident is going to be genuinely worrisome. And I know people will debate Hassan Piker's role in all of that in the days to come. I know the Luigi Mangione fandom on the left will be debated, rightfully so, in the days to come. But everyone should be scared right now, because it does feel like a seal has been broken into a different world.
I'm just looking at the New York Times headline here. Charlie Kirk, right-wing activist, is fatally shot at Utah College. A close ally of President Trump and one of the most influential young right-wing figures in the United States. Kirk was shot in the neck while speaking in front of a large crowd on a university campus. He was 31. It's something to see it in writing. You know, it's something to actually see it in writing. Emily, Turning Point put out a montage not too long ago of Charlie's campus experiences and exchanges. We want to run it now. Take a look at it. Here it is.
Can you tell me her greatest accomplishment?
No, I can't.
Can you tell me a single accomplishment?
I cannot. I want to leave.
What is Kamala Harris's greatest accomplishment?
Could you please explain why under a Trump presidency would be more beneficial to me than a Harris presidency?
I want to try to win you over as a liberal for Donald Trump.
Why should I vote for Trump?
There's no guesswork in this election. We know the type of president that Trump was and that he will be. There are three things I want you to think about when voting for Trump. Home ownership, border, war. Three objective things.
When I decide, just in case, can I have a hat?
You can have a hat. So which way are you leaning?
Can I get a hat?
That's a good answer. How are you leaning this election?
Well, after what you said, Trump.
Let's go!
Oh, so fun, so relatable, so non-threatening to those kids, you know? I mean, if somebody really got in his face, he'd mix it up fine. But 9 times out of 10, those exchanges showed Charlie being a gentleman, right? Like, that's what's so remarkable about all those exchanges with him. He would have fun with the audience. His goal was to bring them in with love. If he had to shame an occasional complete moron, he would do it. But that was reserved for the extreme cases. He was fun to talk to and actually made a difference. He could speak to folks on their level without judging them. You know, like so many times he'd say, you tell me, like, what's your concern? Why are you thinking about voting for Kamala? Like, let me talk you out of it. And he could, he could. I'm watching that exchange and it just dawned on me, I'm going to miss talking to him. I'm going to miss him as a guest on my show. I don't quite have my arms around the fact that that's over, that's over by someone's intention. It's not like a car accident. It's not like an illness. It was unnecessary. And then I think, oh God, why did he have to go there? What if he had just canceled the Utah event? What if he and I had done our Virginia Tech event today instead? Why did it have to happen? And it's just impossible to answer those questions as mere mortals, Emily. Thank you for being here with us and for watching and for supporting. And we love you. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Megyn. Praying for you and everyone involved.
Likewise. We're going to turn now to Father Mike Schmitz. You may know him from A Bible in a Year. He's been on the program before, and our audience absolutely adores you, Father. Thank you for being back, a Catholic priest based in Minneapolis or Minnesota. Out in Bozeman, right? Yeah. Thank you for being here so much. Please help us understand. Like, I don't know how to process it.
Yeah. No, I know that you and Charlie have spent time together. And my first thought when they just asked if I could be here, I just was like, I can't imagine. I imagine that Megyn is going through it right now. And so, I'm so many people, so many of us. But I know that particularly, you have been in the trenches with him and you have had so many conversations that, probably off screen as many or more than we've seen on screen. And so just, know of not only my prayers for him and for his family, but also for you and for every other person who has loved him and has been touched by his life. So just know that first of all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's like, I don't know, is it a fool's errand to try to make sense of something like this?
Well, yes and no. That there's that sense of, I think your previous guest had pointed out, that for Christians, this is, we know that we live in a broken world, and we know that we have this freedom to be able to do horrible, horrible things to each other, and it's not what God wants. And so to get to that point where we say, how do you make sense of this? Is that here's what we believe. I believe that God is good. He made this world good. But then, simply put, with our freedom, we chose to break the world. And we continue to choose to break the world, even though God continues to break into it. Just think about Charlie's life as an example. What is the example? The example is that he had come to this place of knowledge of and faith in the goodness of God in a broken world. And what is the symbol of Christianity? What's the symbol of Christianity? As you might know, this weekend, this upcoming Sunday, we celebrate this thing called the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. And the symbol of Christianity, which is the symbol of the West, is a cross. And that sense of like the cross is the contradiction, right? It's the contradiction. And I think the Catechism says it like this. It says there's no part of the passion of Christ. There's no part of his life, death, and resurrection that is not in some way God's attempt to answer why suffering. And so, and we have to know this. We have to know that faith that Charlie has in that God, the God who is broken into this broken world, doesn't take the pain away, doesn't take the grief away, doesn't undo his tragic murder. But hopefully, in some ways, we can console him and his family by saying, okay, but I'm going to choose to trust in that God as well.
I know, in the same way I was saying, there's no way Charlie would want a single pundit to hold back on their commentary now. No way. That he would certainly not want this to encourage a crisis of faith. Right. He absolutely would not want to see that. And yet, I feel so angry. I was talking to my guests earlier, and my dear friend Mark Halperin was saying, we have to try to find a way to react in love, and come together, like as a country, come together. And I was just honest, saying, it makes perfect sense, and I know he's right, but right now all I feel is deep anger. And I know I'm not alone. And how do you process that, right? That's not a healthy emotion. It's not something you should stay mired in. It corrodes you from the inside. And yet I know millions of people are feeling it.
Well, I think that anger is the proper response. Really, when it comes down to it, anger is the proper response. That there is a time for everything. And grief as well as anger. There's time for acceptance and all those other pieces of moving forward. But anger is the proper response. I mean, to realize that this is, I mean, here, let's use Jesus as our example. There were times when Jesus saw injustice, where Jesus saw evil, and he didn't like, oh, okay, that's too bad. He was angered. I mean, there's times where people refuse to reach out or refuse to say it was good to reach out to help the helpless. And Jesus, it says very clearly in the scriptures, Jesus looked at them with anger. And there's a piece of that that's like, okay, if I can look at evil and I can look at suffering, if I can look at death and senseless, tragic death, like 2 weeks ago, the shooting in Minneapolis and now the shooting in Utah, to be able to look at that and not experience anger is to have our metric off. That's to have our barometer off. That the proper human response to evil is anger, because I would say God's response to evil is anger. And we say it in many ways.
How do we keep that away from us? How do we, I think, I look at my kids, I think, I don't want these devils near them. I don't want the devil near them. I don't want evil coming for them. You and I talked, I've thought about it a million times, Father. We talked when you were on about how does one get into heaven? Yeah. And is it just, I'm a good person, I'm, do unto others. And you said, no, it is not just that, that Jesus, God expects you to work to get in. You have to be actively doing good deeds. You have to actively be thinking about how to advance his word and live in harmony with him. And yes, I want to do all that. Right now, I also want vengeance. I'm not sure that's in line. I really want to hurt whoever did it. I want them to suffer. Not sure that's in line. And then I also want to do whatever I have to do to keep the devil away from the next one, and certainly from all the people I love.
Yeah, and that's why anger can be a positive emotion. C.S. Lewis writes about this. He says that sometimes we look at anger or violence or fighting as the wrong thing. No, we need to tamp that down. Well, no, sometimes you need to fight for the right thing. So when William Wilberforce saw slavery, he was angered by this, not merely grieved, but also angered. And that grief, but also that anger, moved him to do positive things. And so you and I know this. We know that anger indulged can become vengeance. It also can become something even worse, which is resentment and bitterness. And we know that so anger, I would say it like this: anger is an active emotion. Resentment is when things settle. What I mean by that is
you have to get through anger. You have to process anger.
And it can move, right? Anger can move us to do good. Anger can move us to say, this is wrong, and I need to do something about this. Like for you to be able to say, I need to go on the air, and we need to talk about this so that others don't experience this, so that people know that they're not alone. So we can rally and say, okay, you guys, how would Charlie want us to respond to this? Like that, to use that anger to move forward, to do good, as opposed to, I always think of resentment as like, anger is still the like quicksand, or it's like concrete that is still, you can still move it. But resentment is like when I set that, and now I've hardened my heart towards a certain group of people, towards a certain individual. I've hardened my heart to the world. I've hardened my heart to God. So we can't afford to go into resentment, but we have to know how to choose what to do with our anger. And so your response of anger, it would be a defect of humanity to not experience anger.
Well, then I'm human. I'm definitely human. I'll tell you, my priest just texted me and said in the closing, reminded me of the Gospel of John 1:5, saying, light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Mm-hmm. Light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. He was a light. There's no question about that. But man, there's a lot of darkness in the world right now. That's for sure. I have a feeling your pews are going to be even extra filled this Sunday, Father. I know you always have a standing room only, but they're going to flock in great numbers, because I think I think Christians are hurting right now. I think we're losing too many of ours, you know, like the kids in Minneapolis, now Charlie, like, you know, we don't want to see ours shut down for standing up for core Catholic beliefs, you know, like children aren't born in the wrong body and we shouldn't be divided by race. These are very, very core, understandable, you know, non-controversial in a normal world beliefs.
Well, and also, what did Charlie say so many times? He said, why does he go on campus? Why did he go to Utah? Why does he go to any campus? He says, because when people stop talking, then they start becoming violent. And so even the fact that he gave witness to the reality that we can fight, but we fight with debate over debate, or not over debate. We fight through debate, right? We fight with other words. We can argue. And again, that sense of going back to this, that what would he say? When we stop talking, then we devolve into either we separate ourselves completely, or all we have is violence. And he did not want either of those two to be a reality. And that's why I think it's really important, again, for your show to exist, for us to continue to have our doors open in the church and to be able to say, okay, let's continue to engage these big questions, because we have to stand for truth and we have to stand for people who, you know, when people, I mean, in the clip you just showed, the people who changed their mind when Charlie went to a campus, a lot of times what he did was, like, he treated them with respect. Yes, there are some times when there were some harsh words towards each other. I mean, just because that's a normal conversation we sometimes fall into. But that sense of, minds were changed because they didn't realize. They didn't realize what they didn't know. And to be able to care enough for someone to share something with them and help lead them. So we believe, as you know this, in the corporal works of mercy. That comes from Matthew chapter 25. I was hungry, you fed me. I was naked and you clothed me. There's also a spiritual works of mercy. And one of those spiritual works of mercy is instructing the ignorant, or helping those who don't know come to know. And yeah, Charlie did not stop trying to help people come to know. And if they disagreed with him, what happened? They walked away and everyone was still intact. They walked away and they had a discussion and they were treated like a human being. And that's a model to move forward.
I'll hold on to that. Father, thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do, not just for today.
Yeah, thanks, Megyn.
Much love to you.
Praying for you.
Charlie tweeted out on Saturday, Jesus defeated death so you can live. On Saturday, Jesus defeated death so you can live. That's what he did. That's what he wants us all to do. That's what we will do. There's no question we will go on and we will continue our messaging. But it's going to hurt. This one's going to hurt. I told you about President Trump's statement. Joe Biden, to his credit, also tweeted out, there is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now. Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones. It's a sweet gesture. Ben Shapiro, too, just tweeted something out. He's been under threat, too. Poor Ben. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Why? Why does Ben have to have so many security guards? You know, he came here to the studio on Monday. I think it was a week ago. Monday. The poor guy has to walk around with so much security because why again? Why? Because he comments on the news and says things people find controversial, but all of which are mainstream opinions on the right, because he's a Jew who's outspoken in favor of Israel. What? This is where we're going. This is what he wrote. Like all of you, I'm utterly stunned and heartbroken and sick to my soul today. It is unimaginable to write these words. I met Charlie Kirk when he was 18 years old. A young man, so eager and determined that I immediately turned to a friend and said, this kid is going to be the head of the RNC one day. Charlie became even bigger and more important than that. It was a privilege to watch the principled man stand up for his beliefs and create the single most important conservative political organization in America. Totally right. But more importantly, Charlie was a good man, a man who believed in right and wrong, who stood by his biblical values. All of us will miss him, and I can't imagine the pain of his beautiful young family, and we must all pray for them. And we must pick up the baton where Charlie left it, fighting for the things he believed in so passionately. And we must fight for a better America, an America where good people can speak truth and debate passionately without fear of a bullet. I weep for Charlie's family and I weep for my country today. Most of all, I weep for Charlie. It's hard. It's really hard. Everyone's feeling it. Joe Biden, Donald Trump agree on very little things, but on the loss of this great American patriot, they agree. And speaking of great American patriots, Vivek Ramaswamy joins us now. He's running for governor of Ohio, and he also has been out on the trail with Charlie, who I know is a dear friend. He's joining us by phone. Vivek, this is really rough, and I know it's rough on you personally. How are you processing this?
I mean, we're devastated, Megyn. I'm in Northwest Ohio. I was traveling from my home in Columbus when we heard the news, but we are devastated. Just got off the phone with my wife. I was with Charlie here just 2 weeks ago here in Ohio. It actually wasn't something, broadly broadcasted, but we had some one-on-one time together, had a real heart-to-heart conversation when he was here. And even 2 days ago, was talking to him like I'm talking to you now. Spent a good part of the last year together, traveling the country, doing actually events like the one he was doing today. Intense, on college campuses. And it makes you think about what did he do that was so wrong, that earned him this fate. It was to foster open conversations with young people who were hungry to figure out what they believed. And that's what he did. And I think more than anybody else I know, I really mean it when I say this, I think more than anybody else I know, he was committed to talking to people who disagreed with him, to do it openly. That was his ultimate sin. It turns out, in the twisted world we live in today. And, God blessed him with immense gifts that rarely a person might have. And what I love about Charlie is that he was not afraid to use those gifts to do what he felt was right for his country. He knew the risks he was taking. I mean, he had 2 kids. They're a little younger than mine, 2 years apart. I think around 3 and 1.
Yeah.
Worst kid's age. And he did it. I mean, those kids are going to grow up without a great father. They were kids to a great father, a great man, a great American, and they're going to grow up without him. But he took those risks for those kids so they could grow up in a country that he believed in.
Yeah, I was just talking about this. I just was talking about this the other day. It was Graham Linehan, the Irish citizen who got arrested in the UK for tweets on the trans issue. Mm-hmm. And he's paid a dear price for his own outspokenness on controversial issues. And he said, not in the trite way, Vivek, but like in the way that really struck me. He said, I speak up for my daughter because she can't. And he meant more than just she's too young to really understand these issues and process them. He meant there's fear, and that our young people today really, they're not in a position like you are, like I am, like Charlie was, to risk professional reputation or blowback or cancellation, what have you, by but no one's factoring that in, right? Like that's, even as a politician now, you must have seen your risk profile go up, but do you really think your life is on the line when you're out there talking? As a public figure, I've always known it's a risk, but it never really felt like a real one.
Not until the last year. Not until the last year. But I think that we've taken a dark and twisted turn in the country where this has become normalized. If this were shocking, this would be bad enough if this were an event, Megyn. If this were utterly shocking that none of us saw this coming, that alone would be horrific enough. And yet the only thing more horrific is that actually it's not that shocking. Charlie saw it coming. He talked about the culture of political assassination at a time where people thought he was hyperbolic for saying so, right? And the ultimate devastating irony. It was his clarity of vision that he ended up suffering the consequence of what he saw for our country. Is it that surprising when you have 2 assassination attempts on our current U.S. president, which in his case, thank God, he didn't suffer the same fate. But I think the thing we got to understand and wrap our head around here, I mean, I think today is, there's going to be a long conversation to go around how we turn around the policy, the culture, the environment in the country where we get back to the America you and I know and love, where we can talk to each other, disagree vehemently, have the space to disagree vehemently, but still do so with the confidence that we're going to do so safely and with mutual respect and dignity for human life. We're going to get back there. But, today, just in this moment, I mostly just want to remember a great man who's, born only so often as somebody with Charlie's talent and Charlie's gifts. And in, 30 plus years, 31 years on this earth, he was able to, in a shorter time than most are given, accomplish more than most do. And I just pray for his kids that they're able to grow up. I know they have a wonderful mother as well, who's one of the strongest people out there. I can only imagine what she's going through, but
oh God,
I hope those kids grow up. And
mom.
Yeah, imagine. And I don't know this for sure, Megyn, but we have a lot of mutual friends and whatnot. But from what I heard and understand, they were around there today. Imagine what the kids are young. They're 3 and 1, and I feel for them. But imagine her and what position she's in. Now having to raise those 2 kids. And it wasn't just Charlie taking the risks. He knew the risks he was taking, but his family knew it. She knew it too. And they did it together anyway because they believed in doing their part, whether you agree with them or not. They believed earnestly and in their deepest faith that they were doing their part to create that country for their kids. And today paid the price of an ultimate sacrifice that, at least in Charlie's case, he didn't discount that. He wasn't blind to it. He talked about it as a risk. Mm-hmm. And, today, at least we should, for our country, remember a great patriot who in many ways put his life on the line today, literally, to speak what he saw as true and good and virtuous and right for the nation he loved. And I hope, for his sake and for ours, that his kids are able to grow up in a country that moves on from this sick culture of violent retribution. Let's just say at some point we're done with it. And if it isn't now, I don't know when it'll ever be. And so
people like you are you're the answer. You're the answer. You out there on this is not a political ad. This is not I'm not involved in the Ohio race. I've watched you. When people disagreed with you on the campaign trail, you opened your door to them. You walked over to them in friendship. You extended a hand. You wanted to hear them out. You were kind. You were loving. You were gentle. What a model, Vivek. It's so hard to do when we're so divided and we're so angry at each other over these issues, which are important. And when you are subjected to as many, negative press pieces and people harassing you on the campaign trail, it's even harder to find that within you. But you're kind of leading by example these days.
Well, one of the few people I was able to do it with was Charlie. We traveled the entire country, kind of tag teaming. We had our own style, it was slightly different, but it was more fun that way. And we would, kind of stylistic tag team around the country, talking to these young Americans and these young patriots, and many of whom disagreed with us. And he and I we would, ride a car together, take a walk together, ride a plane together, and we'd joke around about, different interactions. And there's one case, he still was one of his favorite people coming out of, I forget which campus we were on. It was somewhere in Pennsylvania. And, it was some girl with dyed hair who was screaming at him, who he still loved the interaction that he had with her. He was able to joke around about it and still care about having one country left at the end of it. And, there weren't that many of us. There aren't that many of us, Megyn, who are willing to do that. And I think we lost one of our greats today. And as sad as I am for Charlie, I'm even sadder for his family, and I'm sadder still for our country that this is where we are. And I don't think that we can just say the usual pieties and then move on and behave the same way tomorrow. I think there's going to be, I feel it right now. I feel it. I mean, there's a choice in how we react to this. And, there's a side of me, most of me now, that's furious, that's angry.
Yep.
But I think that there's also an element in all of us that hopes that we're just done with this. We're moving on past this dark chapter in our history. We've gone like, what, a 12-and-a-half-month period now? 12-month period where we've had 2 assassination attempts on a president. Now we're taking out one of the most important figures in the political youth movement, let alone in the conservative movement. Enough. We're done with this. And I do think that we would be justified, perhaps, in a short-term sense in, adopting the kind of rhetoric that Charlie was himself the subject of, that who knows what the circumstances here, we don't have the facts, but you could imagine at least would motivate someone to act in a horrific way. But, I think the best of what Charlie was trying to do and the best of what I hope we can do for our country aspires to more than just fighting, fire with fire. I hope we can fight fire with water, which might be the harder thing to do.
Yeah, well said. I mean, you talk about what a consequential figure he became. I'm just watching my producer text chain here, which has got all the latest news. Joe Biden has weighed in. Donald Trump has weighed in. Donald Trump has ordered the flags to half-staff in memoriam of Charlie. I mean, I don't remember the last time. And here's a picture of the White House flag atop the White House at half-staff now. By orders of the president, we'll be lowering ours momentarily. I don't remember the last time we've done that for a civilian, not a world leader. He'll do it sometimes in the wake of mass shootings, but for an individual, it's, I think, rare. Barack Obama, too, now weighing in as follows. We don't yet know what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children. That's what we need. I say bravo to Barack Obama and to Joe Biden and to Donald Trump, who understand, Vivek, in these moments, there's something bigger happening. There's something really profound afoot today that's more than partisan bickering, even though we're angry, even though we want vengeance against the man who did it. Like, the good, the truly good, like in our hearts and our souls, good Americans have to unite in standing against this sort of political violence. Even if we're going to fight about the political issues the very next day, those people who understand how vile this is and who are able to check their politics and hold hands in solidarity against this must do it. And that's why I accept those hands of friendship.
That's who we are.
Stand with
them.
That's who
we are. That's who we are as a people. It's who we've been. We've lost our way, but it doesn't have to stay that way. And I would never wish for a tragedy like this to be what's required to wake us up. But if a tragedy, and for me, it's not just a national tragedy, it's a loss of a friend and somebody who's just personally really dear to me. Let something come for the country that he fought for. And he wasn't just a civilian, he was more than that. And I think we can honor him, and we can honor, honestly, our country, the truth of our country, as opposed to this alternative, bastardized version of it that we've suffered for this short period of our history we've been in. We can revive our true country by being a place where, yeah, look, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, yourself, myself, and everyone in between can agree that we're a place where we respect life, where we respect the lives and the dignity of our fellow citizens and our neighbors, that we can disagree like hell at times and still, ideally, we'll get together at the dinner table at the end of it and call ourselves still citizens of the greatest nation known to the history of mankind. That's who we are. That's what Charlie Kirk saw. And I hope that is what his life and now, tragically, his death can cause us to pause and remember and revive. And that's the best we can do today. So anyway, Megyn, thanks for doing what you're doing. And I know it's not easy for you either. I tried to resist your
You said, I'm not sure I can do it. I said, none of us are doing well. Like, we're all letting it hang out. So thank you for joining. I know it's a challenge, and I really appreciate it, Vivek. All my love to you.
Take care. Thank you, Megyn.
You know, one of the things I loved about Charlie, in addition to everything else that we've discussed, was that he was more than just somebody who would comment, still getting used to the past tense, on the news and, articulate his viewpoints and my own, for that matter, on so many issues so effectively and compellingly. But he also wasn't afraid to talk about life and relationships and a man and a woman and how to be a good dad, like all those things. He knew that his viewpoints were important, that his opinions on those things mattered to young people listening to him. And he did not waste that opportunity. When he was on, was it 2 weeks ago? It was very recently. I played for him a clip that I had seen of him online that I loved. I loved. He went on this smaller podcast and something about coffee in the morning. I can't remember, but forgive me, those guys. I did say it on the show. And they got into the subject of paying on the first date and who should pay. And we re-queued it up. Here it is.
Women want to be taken care of. I know this is like super provocative, but like deep down, they want a man to be able to provide for them financially.
Should a man pay on the first date?
100%. Like, what kind of a wuss beta male is splitting the check? But like, who are you? It's like, I'm just sorry. It's I would go into debt and scrub dishes before a woman paid for it.
I split the check quite a lot.
So I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend you. You guys are great. That's incomprehensible to me. I think that's...
To me, I thought it was a great financial decision.
So from your prism, I totally get that. And like, you have really good financial discipline. I'm sorry. Like, I would be so humiliated if I find that to be like the greatest beta male, like humiliation.
To save money?
To like the idea that a woman that you're trying to court. Now, if it's like a friend thing
as a first date, you don't even know if she's like the qualities.
It does not matter. I'm sorry. By the way, that money you save is not worth the honor that you compromise.
It is such a big deal.
It's a massive deal.
The money you save is not worth the honor that you compromise. What a gem. How does he come up with that stuff? It was more than 2 weeks ago. It was August 6th. And at that point, he had just a little over a month left to live when we played that on my show, and we laughed about it together. None of us knows how long we have. You lose friends, you lose family. It happens in slow, gradual ways, and it can happen suddenly and in horrific ways. And I always come back to the same place, and you guys have heard me say it, the things that really matter in your life are within 15 feet of you. And those are the things that you should lean into, and those are the things that Charlie leaned into too. He loved getting out there on the road and going to college campuses. He loved coming on camera. He loved debating with people. He loved coming on our show and doing his show and doing the Turning Point events, which are so special and so influential and important. But he loved his family more than anything. He loved God. And that's what we should need to do. That's all we should do tonight. Lower your flag to half staff. Doug just texted me. Ours is down already. And hug your children and hug your spouse. And go to church this weekend or temple or synagogue or mosque, whatever you do. Say prayer for everyone who's suffering because of Charlie's death, especially his family. And then we must move forward with priorities in place, with love front and center in our lives and connection and not too much time away from those who matter to us, right? Like, have the family dinner, move things around to make it happen. Don't prioritize only your work. Make sure that valve gets some liquid in it, fill up all of these valves and then move forward. You can't live in fear. He wouldn't have wanted that. He certainly didn't do that. You can't allow yourself to be consumed by anger. As Father Mike Schmitz said, anger is appropriate and we will feel it and it is righteous anger. But you can't stay mired in it for too long or you cannot function. You know, I said to my daughter, I've said to my daughter, who's, of course, you know, very empathetic because she's a teenage girl, when other things happen, don't take on every upset as your own. You know, don't take on every tragedy that you see in the news or around you as if it's personal, because it'll break your heart. Well, our hearts are broken right now. And for some of us and many of us, it does feel personal, this loss. So we need a time to grieve, and we need a time then to feel really angry. And then we need to move through those emotions and do something about it. Not violence, not ruining any commentator's life. You know, for what it's worth, I know Van Jones a little, and I told you before I wasn't blaming Van Jones and talking about that soundbite. I was trying to set the stage for what Charlie was doing this week. He's devastated too. Van's a good man. He's devastated too. So in any event, but the perpetrator should be held to account to the fullest extent possible under the law. And then we must take an honest look at what motivated him. I'm assuming it was a him. What was it? Was it just some nutcase? If it was a nutcase, we are not going to skip by yet another tragedy without institutionalization. I will go, I pledge to go to the White House myself and talk directly to the president about it. I promise you, that's what I will do. But what is it? We need to know what it is. And to know what it is, we need to catch the person. So it's all hands on deck. If you know anything, if you have any reason to believe it's someone you may know, or you've heard something, or you're in Utah, we have a lot of fans out there, contact the FBI. I have no doubt that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino will be all over this. We need to catch the person, and we need to find the motivation. We need to punish the person, and we need to punish the people who created the motivation, the circumstances that led this person to think he probably could walk into an arena and take the innocent life of a good and decent man. That's it. I'll give you the last news update before we sign off. Utah Valley University officials encourage students who are still on campus or who had taken shelter in university buildings after the shooting to call for a police escort. Quote, "Police will come and escort you out of the building," wrote the university on social media. The kids there are still not safe. They don't know who committed this crime, and we must know. And I have faith in the law enforcement to find out. God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for making this show possible. Thank you for loving us. Really, thank you for loving us and making me feel loved and valued in this job that I do. I know Charlie felt that too. Gratitude toward his audience for giving him an extraordinary life. Vivek is right. What he did in 31 years so far surpasses what most people accomplish in a full and lengthy lifetime. Something about which his family can be very proud. I'm sure his mother, I didn't realize his mom was still around, but it makes sense he's young, can be very proud. And when his kids are old enough, they will get to know their father, as Emily points out, through videos and through the rest of us who will make sure that he goes on living. That's how all of our loved ones go on living, through our memories and when we share them. All my love to all of you, all my gratitude as well. We'll see you again tomorrow on The Megyn Kelly Show.